part 4 of Justin Baldoni's October 6th deposition. Okay, if you'd look for me at Exhibit 11, which we were discussing before the break, I would like to direct your attention to the page marked 4951. You see at 9:39 is the second text Katie Case writes to Melissa Nathan, as read, also, hi, how are you? Do you see that? Yes. Okay, and Melissa Nathan writes, as read, it's 6:30. I'm already trying to kill one rebel story and dealing with Mattel loss for Brian. Do you see that? I do. And I'll represent to you that Melissa Nathan testified in this case that Rebel meant Rebel Wilson and Brian meant Brian Friedman. Thank you. Okay, then Melissa Nathan writes, as read, so basically Rebel wants one of those sites. Shapiro, objection. Shaw, I wasn't finished with the question yet, but Shapiro, well, okay, but you misread the text. Shaw, Melissa Nathan writes, as read, so basically Rebel wants one of those sites. Do you see that? Yes. And then Katie responds two texts below as read, okay. And then Melissa writes, should be a mixture of that document that Carolina pulled about Amanda Ghost or the intern pulled, the voice note and this. And then there's an attachment. Do you see that? Yes. Okay. And then Katie Case writes as read, okie dokes. I'll pull this together in the morning. Do you see that? Shapiro, objection. Shaw, as read, I'll pull this together this morning. Do you see that? That I see. All right. And then Melissa writes, as read, thank you. It can be really, really harsh, and then link it to the Jed S voice thing. Do you see that? Yes. All right. I will represent to you that Melissa testified that Jed S is Jed Wallace. Okay. All right. And if you look at the text above, I will represent to you that she testified that when she said should be a mixture of that document that I think Carolina pulled about Amanda Goes or the intern pulled. Carolina is Carolina Hurley, who works for TAG, and Amanda Goes meant Amanda Ghost. Okay. It's a lot of names, but okay. All right, then she references a voice note and an attachment. There's a voice note from Jed Wallace attached to this text thread that talks about what the smear allegations against Amanda Ghost should be that go on the website, okay? Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection form. Shaw, that's not a question. I'm just telling you that. Justin, oh, okay, thank you for telling me. Shaw, sure. And if you look at the attachment that Melissa attaches, it starts at the page marked 4958. Okay. Starts by saying, as read, this website is dedicated to telling the world the truth about Amanda Ghost, who has maliciously tried to destroy the lives of countless artists. Seeing as she is currently funded by one of the world's richest men, it has been near impossible to release information about her wrongdoings for the past 2 decades. And at the bottom of the paragraph, it says, more recently, her behavior has escalated into unwanted sexual advances on young women. She's the Indian Ghislaine Maxwell, whose only friend in this world seems to be convicted felon Boy George. Do you see all this? Yes. Are you aware of whether or not this is a final draft of the copy that ultimately became a smear website against Amanda Ghost? I've never seen this before. All right. I have no knowledge of any of this stuff. All right. If you flip the page, to where we were before, my apologies. Go to 4952. At the top of the page at 956, there's a text from Melissa that says, as read, Len, Russian oligarchs, and making her a madam, basically, LOL, said Jed. Do you see that? Uh-huh. I will represent to you that Melissa testified that Jed meant Jed Wallace. Yes. And then Katie Case writes, as read. Oh my God, LOL. Okay, this one will be fun. Do you see that? I do. Okay, flip the page. Next page, 4953. There's a text from Melissa Nathan at 1:58 p.m. in the middle of the page where she says, as read, I have to drive to this effing meeting. Do you think you'll have that copy for Jed today? Because I need to make it really hammy. Do you see that? Uh-huh. Okay, and Jed meant Jed Wallace. If you go down later in that page, Katie Case says at 4:02 p.m., as read, is Jed doing anything on Justin? I'm having Zoe monitor, but that's not the same, LOL. Do you see that? I see it. Okay, and I will represent to you that Jed meant Jed Wallace and Justin means you. Great. If you flip the page and Melissa Nathan says, as read, not yet, they've not signed him on. Katie Case writes, arg, I wish they'd get a move on. All they care about is social right now, and we can't do anything about it, LOL. Also, what are we supposed to do about a journalist calling her? Like, do your job, Jen, LOL. And then Melissa writes, Jed and Brian asking me for copy, LOL, kill me. Do you see that? I do. All right, and I will represent to you that Jed is Jed Wallace and Brian is Brian Friedman. Do you see that? I do. All right, did you have any knowledge before I just showed you this document that this has been produced in this case? No. Okay, would you be surprised to learn that Katie Case testified that Melissa Nathan worked with Brian Friedman and Jed Wallace to create a smear website against Amanda Ghost on behalf of client Rebel Wilson? Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection form. Witness, I believe I would be. Shaw, okay, is that something you would have wanted Melissa Nathan to tell you when she was representing you and suggesting that you bring Jed Wallace on to handle socials? Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection form. Justin, I don't know if I would have expected it because I didn't know it existed. Shaw, okay, if Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace had a practice of creating smear websites and smear social media accounts against adversaries of their clients, is that something you would have wanted to know before you decided to hire both of them to help you against Blake Lively? Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection form. Justin, I would imagine so, yes. Shaw, do you know who the Alexander brothers are? No. Have you ever heard of three brothers with the last name of Alexander who are real estate agents in Miami who have been accused by many women of rape and sexual misconduct? Shapiro, objection. Witness, no. Shaw, okay, are you aware that Katie Case testified under oath in this case that she also worked with Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace to create a smear website about the victims of the Alexander brothers on their behalf? Glover, objection form. Shapiro, objection. Witness, as I said, I didn't know who they were, so I didn't know anything else. And nobody has told you in this litigation that this is what Katie Case has testified under oath about the activities of Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace. Shapiro, I'm going to object and just Glover, objection form. Shapiro, instruct you and remind you not to provide any information that you only receive from any attorneys if you know anything about the answer to this question. Justin, no attorneys had told me that. No, I don't know anything about it. You've told me though. Shaw, okay, is the tactic of creating defamatory smear websites and social media posts about people a tactic that you approve of? Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection form. Justin, it is not a tactic that I would ever employ, no. Shaw, is it a tactic that you would ever approve of? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I think I said a similar thing to that. I would never approve of anyone creating a smear website for me. I can't stop what someone else does. Shaw, would you want to knowingly associate yourself with people who regularly employ such tactics against other people? Glover, objection form. Shapiro, objection. Justin, I can't imagine I would. Shaw, are you happy that you are now associated with at least two people who have employed such tactic against other people? Glover, objection form. Shapiro, objection. Justin, there is nothing about this situation that I'm happy about. Shaw, specifically with respect to the fact that you have associated yourself with at least two people in your employ who have a history of employing such tactics. Are you happy about that? Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection form. Justin, as I said, there is nothing about any of this that I'm happy about. All right. Do you have any understanding of whether Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace have employed these tactics against Stephanie Jones? Glover, objection form. Shapiro, objection. Justin, no, I don't know why I would. Shaw, well, because they work for you. Shapiro, objection. Justin, who works for me? Shaw, Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace. Shapiro, objection. Counsel, do you have a question? Justin, I don't understand. Shapiro, you're making statements. Can you pose a question, please? Shaw, do you have any knowledge about whether Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace have employed these tactics against Stephanie Jones during the pendency of these litigations on your behalf? Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection form. Justin, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Shaw, okay, do you have any idea or understanding about whether Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace have employed similar tactics against Blake Lively, either before or during the pendency of this lawsuit on your behalf? Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection form. Shapiro, and I just want to instruct you again, Mr. Baldoni, to the extent there's a question posed about your understanding about anything after the litigation started, do not share any information you received only from your attorneys. Justin, would you mind repeating the question? Shaw, do you have any understanding about whether Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace have employed similar tactics against Blake Lively, either before or during the pendency of this lawsuit on your behalf? No. Glover, objection form. Shaw, is it possible, having seen everything that I've shown you here today, that Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace have employed these kinds of tactics against Stephanie Jones during the pendency of this lawsuit or before? Glover, objection form. Shapiro, objection. Justin, I have no idea. It could have happened. You just might not know about it, right? Glover, objection form. Shapiro, objection. Justin, lots of things could have happened. I don't know about any of them. I don't know how to answer that or how that's relevant to anything. Shaw, you can't say with 100% personal certainty that Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace have never employed these tactics against Stephanie Jones behind your back, can you? Glover, objection form. Shapiro, objection. Justin, I can tell you that I would never ask them to, and I have no knowledge of anything that they've done, so I don't know how to answer that. Shaw, but sitting here today, under oath, you cannot tell me with 100% certainty that Jed Wallace and Melissa Nathan have never employed these tactics against Stephanie Jones behind your back, can you? Glover, objection form. Shapiro, objection. Justin, I think you just answered your own question. I'm looking for an answer from you. Glover, objection form. Shapiro, objection. Justin, but how could I know something if it happened behind my back? Shaw, I'm asking if I don't know. I genuinely have no knowledge of any of this, so I just don't understand what you're asking of me. My question is, are you willing to testify under oath that something is possible with 100% certainty that it didn't happen? Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection form. Justin, no, because I couldn't testify either way that it didn't happen or did happen because I'm not a part of it. I don't know anything about it. Shaw, okay, are you able to testify with 100% certainty under oath that Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace didn't employ similar tactics against Blake Lively behind her back? Glover, objection form. Shapiro, objection. Justin, my answer is the same, which is no, you cannot testify with 100% certainty that it didn't happen. Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection form. Shapiro, can we ask him questions that he has knowledge of? This is completely out of bounds. And Shaw, with all due respect, Shapiro, crazy. Shaw, you're limited to non-speaking objections. Make your objection and crosstalk. Yeah, but you have Shapiro. Yeah, but you have an obligation to ask questions. Shaw, I'm not going to debate you on the record. Shapiro, that are likely calculated to lead to discoverable evidence. None of this fits that criteria. Shaw, that's in my judgment, not yours, so I'm going to ask my questions. Shapiro, well, if you want to waste another 3 hours, go ahead. Shaw, it might be a waste of your time. It's not a waste of mine. Can you read that question back, please? The stenographer reporter, sure, let me find it. Shapiro, this is not in good faith, counsel. Shaw, I disagree with you, counsel. The stenographer reporter, okay, the last question, which is record read as follows. You cannot testify with 100% certainty that it didn't happen. Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection form. Justin, sure, I have no idea what happened or didn't happen, so I can't testify either way whether it did or didn't, as I wasn't a part of any of it. Shaw, it appears that there was a lot about what Melissa Nathan and Jed Wallace were doing with relation to putting up smear websites and social media accounts and digital manipulation that you weren't aware of before I just showed you, right? Glover, objection form. Shapiro, objection. Justin, I think that's a fair statement. Shaw, okay, do you have an understanding of whether anyone at TAG ever planted or fed information to a reporter that resulted in a negative story about Blake Lively in August of 2024? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I do not. Shaw, you don't know one way or another. I know the directives were not to do anything negative. Absolutely. If someone from TAG had testified in this case that they in fact did plan a negative story about Blake Lively, that's not something you were aware of? Shapiro, objection. Justin, no. Shaw, are you aware that Breonna Butler Coslow testified under other in this case that she deliberately leaked information to the Daily Mail in August of 2024 that resulted in a negative story about Blake Lively? I was not. No one has told you that since she testified. Shapiro, objection. To the extent it calls for any communications with their attorneys, do not answer. Justin, no. Shaw, if that had happened in August of 2024, is that something that as a TAG's client you would have expected they run by you before they did? Shapiro, objection. Justin, TAG had very clear directions to not create anything negative. Shaw, and if they did create something negative that resulted in a negative story about Blake Lively, is that something they would have expected you would have expected them to tell you about? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I would have expected them to tell probably Jamie. I was not in communication every day about everything. Shaw, okay, what's your understanding? You testified earlier about a truce that you believe was in place between your camp and Blake Lively's camp with respect to media. Yes. And your understanding is that truce had been brokered between Melissa Nathan and Leslie Sloan, right? That's what was relayed to me. Do you have any understanding of whether or not and how that truce may have been broken? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't know. Shaw, okay, do you think someone from TAG deliberately leaking negative information about Blake Lively in order to plant a story about her in the Daily Mail broke that truce? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't know. Shaw, well, the truth was to not put any negative stories about each other, right? Yes. And so if someone from TAG did, in fact, put out a negative story about Blake Lively, you would agree with me that broke the truce, right? I'm sorry, let me go back. My understanding of the truce wasn't negative stories. My understanding of the truce was to not be in touch with any reporters about any of that, anything. So I don't think it was just negative stories. It was commenting on the current speculation. Okay, so if the truce was to not be in contact with any reporters about anything, anything related to the speculation about what people were talking about. Sure, if the truce was to not be in contact with any reporters relating to anything about the speculation about what was going on between you and Blake Lively in the film, you would agree with me that somebody from TAG planting a negative story against Blake Lively broke that truce. If that's what happened, then I would imagine that would be accurate. I don't know if that's what happened. I wasn't there. Well, you were there. You just didn't know, right? Shapiro, objection. Justin, well, this is the first time I'm hearing about any of this, so I don't know. Shaw, okay, are you pleased? This is the first time you're hearing about any of what I'm telling you now? Shapiro, objection. Justin, you asked me a lot if I'm pleased or happy. I don't think that's a fair characterization of anything that I'm feeling right now. Shaw, are you unhappy that you never heard before any of the things I'm telling you now? Shapiro, objection. Justin, if they turned out to be true, then yeah, that would be an accurate feeling of what I would feel. But I haven't been able to do any of my own investigation. You're just telling me, and I'm hearing and responding to you. If it turns out that all of these things are true, do you wish in hindsight that you had followed Stephanie Jones's advice about Melissa Nathan? Shapiro, objection. Glover, objection form. Justin, I don't even know how to answer that. Do I wish in hindsight? So if everything you're saying is true, do I wish in hindsight that I had followed Stephanie Jones's advice back last year before hiring Melissa Nathan? Shaw, uh-huh. I can't answer that. Do you still have no regrets about hiring Melissa Nathan? As I said, I really try not to have regrets. So that is a no. Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't know. I don't know. And I don't mean to laugh at your questions. Shapiro, timeout. The iPads are not updating. The stenographic reporter. That means Wi-Fi probably cut out. Jonathan will reconnect them. Shapiro, okay, thank you. Videographer, can you just refresh this? Shapiro, okay, thank you. Justin, would you like me to be done with this one? Shaw, yes, thank you. I'm going to show you a document that's been marked as Exhibit 12. Exhibit 12 marked for identification. Shaw, it's a text thread between Jennifer Abel and Matthew Mitchell from January 14th, 2024. Bates stamp, Jonesworks, several zeros, 41606. Just read through this for me. Justin, yes. Shaw, have you ever seen this before? I have not seen this entire text thread. I do believe that one of these was made public at one point. I don't know where it was. I don't know if it was an article or maybe it was in the lawsuit or something. Have you ever talked to Jennifer Abel about why she said this about you? Yes, I did. And what did she say? Well, she actually called me one morning. I was sleeping and she was in tears. And she just said, Justin, I'm so sorry. I said, for what? And then she said, some texts have been made public where I'm talking about you. And I'm just so sorry. I don't believe the things that I said. I was just pissed because you didn't want to do something and I'm sorry. And I said, I understand. I'm not going to forgive her. I mean, I'm not going to hold it against her. I'm sure if everybody's phone was scanned, I'm sure there's a lot of people that talk about a lot of people. So as a rule, I do my best to not do that. And yet I am. I'm sure lots of people have said these things about me. If you flip to the page marked 41608, the text message at 2:02 p.m., in the middle of the page, she writes as read, he may fire us because even if we put together an amazing campaign, it's not going to change the fact that he's so unlikable and unrealistic as a leading man. There's no chemistry with him and Blake. You and I both know that she will be resistant to promote this movie, and press will be reluctant to do anything with Justin without Blake being part of it. So there, those are my thoughts. Do you see that? I do. Have you ever seen this part of the text message before? I don't think so. You left Jonesworks to go with Jennifer as a publicist after she was fired from Jonesworks, right? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I'm not sure I agree with the framing of your question. Shaw, which part do you not agree with? Justin, can you ask me again? You left Jonesworks to go with Jennifer Abel as a publicist after Jennifer Abel was fired from Jonesworks, right? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't know the sequence. I know that Jennifer had put in her notice, so I'm confused by the way the question is asked. Shaw, let me ask it a different way. You left Jonesworks to go with Jennifer Abel as a publicist after she left Jonesworks, right? Shapiro, objection. Justin, yeah, yes. Shaw, why? Because she was my publicist for years before, and I trusted her. Do you still trust her? Shapiro, objection. I do. Justin, I do. Shaw, okay, have you seen any documents or text messages in this case or otherwise where Stephanie Jones is talking about you the way that Jen Abel was? I haven't seen any documents about Stephanie Jones in general, to my knowledge. Okay, are we done with this one? Yes. Okay. Are you aware that after Wayfarer onboarded Tag as its crisis publicist, Katie Case and Melissa Nathan were joking about whether your faith was a cult? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I was not aware. Shaw, what do you think about that? Shapiro, objection. Justin, well, I think anytime somebody makes a religious joke, I think that's not okay. It seems to have happened a lot in this case. Shaw, including from your own publicist. It seems. Shapiro, objection. Justin, if you want to show it to me, I'd be happy to see it. I haven't heard anything. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. Shaw, sure. Shaw, tab 139, please. I will show you a document that's marked as exhibit, the stenographic reporter, 13. Shaw, 13. Exhibit 13, marked for identification. Shaw, it's a text thread between Katie Case and Melissa Nathan from August 4th, 2024, with a bait stamp Nathan, several zeros, 2938. Okay, sorry, there is one more page. Have you seen this before? I have not. Were you aware that Katie Case and Melissa Nathan were texting things like this about you while they were on a call with you? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I was not. Shaw, what do you think about that? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I think they have every right to say whatever they want. Shaw, did Jennifer Abel ever warn you or Jamie Heath or Tara Hanks against hiring Melissa Nathan before you brought her on as crisis communications? Not to my knowledge. Shaw, tab 85, please. Justin, are we done with this one? Shaw, yes. Thank you. Justin, thank you. Shaw, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 14 as a text thread between Jen Abel, Jamie Heath, Stephanie Jones, and Tara Hanks dated 7/26/2024, marked Jonesworks underscore several zeros 13939. Exhibit 14 marked for identification. Shaw, just read through this for a moment if you'd like. If you look in the middle of the page, marked 13940, there's a text from Jennifer Abel that says, as read, thanks all. As per our conversation, I also had a negative experience where I confronted her with lies and shady behavior and the attempts to poach, and I had to get the client involved to straighten out the situation. Do you see that? I do. There was a with. I confronted her. You added a with, but just for the record. Okay, I will rely on what the document says if I misread it. Do you know whether or not this conversation that she refers to or this text thread has to do with Jennifer Abel's prior experience with Melissa Nathan? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I'm not on this thread, so I don't know. Shaw, did Jamie Heath or Tara Hanks ever relay the substance of that conversation or this text thread to you? I don't believe so. Shaw, tab 86, please. I'm going to hand you a document marked Exhibit 15. For the record, this is a text thread between Jen Abel and Matthew Mitchell dated 4/5/2024, marked Jonesworks underscore several zeros 41609. Exhibit 15, marked for identification. Shaw, do you see this? I do. All right, if you go to the text starting at 2:02 p.m., you will see Matthew Mitchell says, as read, MN kind of talks out of both sides of her mouth. And then Jennifer Abel responds, as read, you think she's a piece of... I honestly used to like her, and now I see her for how she really is. And then Matthew Mitchell writes, as read, she's manipulating things, but he's also covering and keeping her on because of the debt owed to somebody. It's gross, TBH. Do you see that? Uh-huh. Did Jen Abel ever relate to you that she thought at least at some point that Melissa Nathan is a piece of... Shapiro, objection. Justin, I'm sorry. I'm almost done with the document. Shaw, sure. Okay. Would you mind re-asking your question? I will ask it this way. Did Jennifer Abel ever relate to you any negative sentiment she ever had about Melissa Nathan before she recommended that you bring her on as crisis communications? Shapiro, objection. Justin, no. Okay. Are you aware that Melissa Nathan was hired as your crisis publicist? Melissa and Are you aware that after Melissa Nathan was hired as your crisis publicist, Melissa and Jen Abel were talking about Jen taking you and Wayfarer and all of Jonesworks' clients with her when she left Jonesworks? I was not. Okay, do you know whether or not Jennifer Abel recommended that you hire Melissa Nathan so that she could position Melissa Nathan to transition with you and Wayfarer and Jen? I'm sorry? Shapiro, objection. Okay. Shaw, I will restart it again. I feel like I'm watching an episode of a TV show, like following the storylines. Sure. Can you break that down simply for me? Yeah, are you aware of whether or not Jen Abel and Melissa Nathan ever had a plan amongst each other to steal you and Wayfarer's clients from Stephanie Jones? I am not aware of any such plan. Okay, are you aware of whether that is the reason that Jen Abel recommended that you hired Melissa Nathan? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I am not aware. Shaw, okay. Shaw, I'm going to hand you what's been marked as Exhibit 16. Exhibit 16 marked for identification. Justin, thanks. Is this one I'm on? Shaw, nope. Okay. It's a text thread between several people, a tag dated August 2nd, 2024, marked Nathan underscore several zeros 141. May I read through it? Yes. All right, okay. Now, reading through this, do you recognize this as a text thread where the women at tag are talking through a call that they expect to have with you? It appears to be. Okay, and this is on August 2nd. Do you know whether or not you had formally retained tag at this point? I don't believe we had. Okay, do you know whether this was the first call that you were on with tag by this point? August 2nd, I was in Sweden for my wife's birthday, I believe. Yes, I believe this sounds like that was around the day that I met them for the first time. Okay, and before this call, you were provided with a scenario planning document from tag. Do you recall that? This scenario planning document? Yes. And do you recall talking or texting to Jen Abel after you reviewed the scenario planning document that you were dissatisfied with it? I vaguely remember it. I know there are texts, but what do you remember about those conversations with Jen Abel? I remember reading it and feeling like it wasn't that impressive of a document. Why did you think it wasn't that impressive of a document? It just kind of felt like, I think the feeling I had was that they were just the document kind of felt like they were trying to get the gig, maybe. But I just remember not feeling that, just not loving it. Do you recall feeling like it wasn't sufficiently protective of you? I remember feeling like there needed to be more defense. I just remember feeling I wanted more protection. Yeah. Protection against what? I don't know everything. I was just scared. Scared of what? I had never been in a situation like this. What were you scared could happen? Well, I just been kicked off my own movie, a film that I was working on for 5 years. People that I thought were my friends were not following me anymore publicly, and it seemed like things were being done intentionally to cause some sort of public conversation. I'd never been involved in a crisis, and I was just scared. So I think they could have said they're going to build me an iron dome, and I still probably would have felt like there wasn't enough protection. Were you scared of things that Blake Lively or Ryan Reynolds might do? I was terrified of Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively in general, especially considering they had just threatened us and said they were taking the gloves off if I didn't release a statement. What did you understand taking the gloves off to mean? Again, I didn't know. I know what they were able to. Are you okay? Excuse me? Yeah, I know somehow they were able to take my movie from me, so I didn't know what they were capable of. Is that what you believed happened, that they took your movie from you? Yes. Were you scared at this point in time that Blake Lively might make public any of the accusations about your on-set behavior that she had made privately to you and to Sony? Glover, objection form. Justin, I was afraid. Are you okay? I was afraid honestly, of lies coming out about me. Shaw, lies from Blake Lively? Yes. About your behavior on set? Well, it was one of the things. Lies in general. I didn't know. I mean, at this point, I was already made aware that her team was pitching stories that I was in a cult, and I had already been told that Mr. Reynolds had told clients that I was a predator of some kind. So I was made aware that there was damage that they were trying to do to me already, and I didn't know what they were capable of. Is it fair to say that at this point in time, you wanted to defend yourself in the event that Blake Lively made public some of the accusations about your onset behavior that she had already made privately, including to you and Wayfair and to Sony? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I think it's fair to say that I wanted to plan to defend myself from any lies that were about to be told or anything else they were going to try to do to me. Shaw, including lies about or what you felt to be lies about her concerns with your onset behavior? I think that is a part of it, yeah. You say in one of these, so this is a little bit hard to follow, I understand. It's all good. If you turn for me to page 142, you see that it looks like Melissa Nathan has attached screenshots of a conversation between her and Jen Abel. Do you see that? Uh-huh. And if you flip the page to 143, and you can see this better on page 150, it looks like Jen Abel had sent Melissa Nathan screenshots of a conversation that she had with you. Okay, so I'm looking at a text message that came from Melissa to someone else. Look on 143. And then inside that text message is a screenshot and that Melissa included of a text message between me and Jen. It looks like that. All right. Flip to 150 if you would. Shapiro 150. Shaw, the screenshots in the black boxes here. Uh-huh. Do you recognize that as a text conversation between you and Jen Abel? That's my name, so I would assume it is. And you say, as read, morning, not in love with the document they sent. Not sure I'm feeling the protection I feel on the call. Do you see that? I do. What call are you referencing? I don't know. I'm imagining, I don't see a date on this, but I'm imagining it's the call the first time that I met them. Them being tagged? Yes. Okay, but I can't speak to it 100% because I don't know the dates. And if you flip forward to 149, that's backwards. Yeah, sure. You will see the black box looks like the text between you and Jen Abel. I'm assuming, is this from the same text thread? Looks like it to me. Okay. And then you see someone write to Jen Abel as read. We can write it down to him. We can't write it down to him. We can't write, we will destroy her. We will go to this. We will do this. We will do this. We will do this. Do you see that? I do. And then it looks like Jen responds as read, of course not. But I told him that's the point of talking through. Do you see that? I do. Do you have a recollection when you expressed to Jen Abel that you weren't thrilled with the scenario planning document, that she responded to you in sum or substance, we're going to have a call with tag, that's the point of talking this through? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I do not even remember the phone call with Jen. Shaw, okay, that we're even talking about. You don't recall the phone call with Jen where you expressed to her that you weren't, or any text or conversation with Jen, where you expressed to her, I'm not thrilled with this document? I believe it was in a text message. Uh-huh. And I think you have here. Uh-huh. I don't know if we had a phone call about it. Okay. We might have, but what was your question? My question was, when you expressed to her you weren't thrilled with the document, yeah? Do you remember her giving you any comfort around, we're going to talk it through with tag and you should understand it better once we have this call? I believe this is what she texted me, which is in this photo. But again, I could be mistaken. But independent of this document, do you have a recollection of her responding in that manner or any matter when you said, I'm not thrilled with this document? I mean, my recollection is that it was a scenario planning document and it's all I remember about it. I think it was just done via text. Okay. But if anything else pops in while you're asking me questions, I'll come back and tell you. After you receive the scenario planning document, do you recall them getting a call with people from TAG to talk through the scenario plan? I'm sure there was a second call. I don't have a specific memory of that call. Okay, do you have any general memory of that call? I have a memory of the first call. I don't really have a memory of the second call. What is your memory of the first call? Mostly that my wife was sitting with me and we were in Sweden. I was in the middle of trying to pull off this massive surprise for her birthday with all her friends and while dealing with all this. And I remember meeting Melissa. I felt very comforted by like she felt very motherly and she seemed very kind. She felt like somebody that I could trust. I think I remember that I had changed. I think I remember starting by apologizing because I had changed the meeting time so many times because we were so far ahead. That's what I remember. Do you recall Stephanie Jones being on that call that you had with Tag? I don't. Do you recall Jen Abel being on that call that you had with Tag? Yes. Do you recall Stephanie Jones being on the second call that you had with Tag? I really don't remember the second call, so I don't know who was on it. Do you remember if Jen Abel was on it? Shapiro, objection. Justin, same answer. I'm not even sure I'm assuming there was a second call, but that's one I don't remember. Shaw, do you recall Stephanie Jones being on any call you had with Tag? I don't. Do you know if Stephanie Jones ever saw the scenario planning that Tag sent to you? I don't. Okay, if you turn to page 144, it looks like at the top of the page, Brianna Butler and Katie Case are reacting to your criticisms about the scenario planning document. Uh-huh. And Brianna said, as read, I'm sorry, that document was strong, and we walked through all the possibilities of him doing some big sit-down, which would kill him. Do you see that? Yes. And then Katie Case writes, as read, it's really effing strong. He can't come off as the victim. She'll destroy him. Do you see that? Uh-huh. Did they ever relay in sum and substance to you, or did anyone at Tag ever relay in sum and substance to you that you can't come off as the victim or Blake will destroy you. No, I'm not sure what this is saying or what it's about. Okay, then down below, Brianna Butler says, as read, I think he'll be fine on the call once we walk him through. Do you see that? Uh-huh. And then Melissa Nathan says, as read, he will be. We need to be tough. Do you see that? Uh-huh. And then below, Melissa Nathan writes, exactly. Brianna, I need you to be in a good place with your camera on, if okay, to be able to help me talk really toughly to him. I wouldn't usually ask, but he sounds like a effing mess. Do you see that? Yes. Did you feel like a effing mess at the time? I don't. Did I feel like a effing mess? I was really emotional. I mean, I don't know if I would call myself a effing mess, but I think they are clearly hearing about me, so they're entitled to their opinion. And then below that, Melissa Nathan writes, as read, and also this is the first one that Jen is giving us, and she's taking all the clients. Do you see that? I do. Do you have any awareness of whether or not Melissa thought that you were the first client that Jen was giving to Tag, and that Jen was taking all the clients from Jonesworks when she left? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I have no idea. Did Melissa ever encourage you to leave with Jen when she left Jonesworks? I don't remember her encouraging me. Are you sure about that? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I think I remember telling her I was going to go with her, but I don't remember Melissa saying, like, you should go with her. Shaw, what do you recall about telling Melissa that you were going to go with Jen? I don't remember the conversation. I remember, and I don't remember how it came up, but I remember that I was going to go with Jen anyway. So it wasn't like a secret that we were hiding from anybody. Did you make that decision? Did I make what decision? To go with Jen when she left Jonesworks. Did you make that decision personally? That was a consultation between myself and Jamie, and I believe at that time, Tara. And when did that consultation and decision happen between you and Jamie and Tara? I don't know exactly when or the date. Can you place it in time in relation to when Jen actually left Jonesworks? Can you help me with when she left Jonesworks? Sure. If Jen, or was she fired from Jonesworks? Because you had said earlier she was fired. Well, I will ask you what you understand about that in a little bit. But this text, let me ask it this way. Do you have a recollection of discussing and deciding that you were going to go with Jen? Like one day before she actually left, or like 1 month before she actually left? Shapiro, objection. Justin, can you help me with when she actually left? Shaw, sure. She left on August 21st of 2024. Justin, I can't give you, I don't know. I don't know exactly when. Were you aware that she was planning to leave Jonesworks before she actually left? I was made aware via Jamie that she had given Stephanie her notice, and so Jamie let me know that she had given notice and that she would be staying on through the end of the film promotion. Do you have a sense of when Jamie relayed that to you? I don't, but all I remember was that she had given notice. She had let Stephanie know. Do you have the impression that you found out about her giving notice shortly after she gave notice? I couldn't answer that. Okay, after you were informed by Jamie that Jen gave notice to Stephanie, did you immediately decide to go with Jen when she left? No. How long after you became aware that Jen planned to leave Jonesworks did you make the decision to go with her? I think Jamie and I had a conversation about it. I think it was something that we immediately said, oh, this is something we have to figure out. Like, because we had Matthew at Jonesworks, but it was really just Jen and Matthew. And Jen had been with us pretty much since the beginning. So it was one of those. It was on the list of conversations that Jamie and I had to have. Like, whoa, what do we do? Do we stay? I didn't know what she was going to or where she was going at the time, but it was definitely a conversation. I don't think that was decided immediately. At some point between when you found out that she had given notice and when she actually walked out the door at Jonesworks, you had decided, yes, that you were going to go with her. Yes. Okay, and you had decided that in consultation with Jamie and Tara. Yes. Did you make Stephanie Jones aware of that decision when you decided it? Shapiro, objection. Justin, I don't even think we made Jen aware of that decision. Shaw, did you not? No. Shapiro, objection. Shaw, okay, when did you make Jen aware of that decision? I don't know. I don't remember telling Jen, probably because I was never asked. I don't know when I told Jen I would go with her. Did you ever tell Jen that you would go with her? I'm sure I did. Personally, I'm sure I did. Yeah. Okay, do you have any recollection of that? I think I do. Yes, I have a recollection of a phone call with Jen. And what is the recollection of that phone call? It was one of the other 1,000 things that we were dealing with, and I let her know that Jamie had let me know that she was giving her notice, or she gave her notice. My memory of that call was her saying and being very clear that she's sure that they will find someone great to replace her. it had nothing to do with us. And she wanted to make sure she stayed on for me because she knew how intense of a time this was for me until the movie was done being promoted. And she went out of her way to almost say, like, everything's going to be fine. Steph's great. Matthew's great. It was like that kind of conversation. Do you remember when in time this was? I don't, but I imagine it was within a week or two of whenever Jamie told me. Shapiro, counsel, can we take a short break? Shaw, sure. Videographer, we're going off the record. The time is 4:21 p.m. Recess. Videographer, we're back on record. The time is 4:48 p.m. All right, see you in part 5.